What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 10 of the Tri-State Hockey Podcast presented by Novig. I'm your host, Johnny Lazarus, joined by my good friends Arthur Staple and Mike Rupp. I forgot to say longtime NHL reporter and Stanley Cup champion. I apologize, guys. You deserve those flowers. So -1 for me to start the day. But a great week for the Islanders. Again, a good start to the week for the Devils and a horrible ending to it. And then the New York Rangers with kind of a no-show on Wednesday night against the Chicago Blackhawks. So why don't we start with the New York Islanders, Arthur? I could see you hiding that smile. But, man, good couple of games on Long Island this week.
Yeah, it's, a couple tough teams, a couple Western teams. I think they're now 6-0 against the Pacific Division, which is pretty wild because there's some good teams out there. But they earned that one against Vegas. It was unfortunate, went to the shootout, them tying it late. But the way it started, you like the way that the Islanders came back after giving up two quick ones. Ilya Sorokin was nails again, despite giving up 4. And then last night, really start to finish, just a really nice game against Anaheim. It's, Anaheim's first game coming into the New York area. We'll talk about it later. They got a lot of guys who are probably circling Monday on the calendar at MSG, like Chris Kreider and Jacob Trouba. So maybe looking a little past the Islanders, which nobody should be doing if they're coming to the Tri-State these days. They're the team that you want to keep an eye on. And really the news, I guess, can't all be good, I guess. Bo Horvat getting hurt there. It looked really nasty. Patrick Waugh says day to day. We're hearing that maybe not days, but a couple of weeks. If hopefully that would be good news, I think, if he's back right around Christmas or just after, because he's really been the engine that makes that offense go. But I like the way they played without him. They shortened down to 11 forwards. And I think highlighting their depth, which has been really impressive this year. Simon Holmstrom had a great game last night. He'd been dry for a while. Anders Lee, 2-2, a couple power play goals, which has been something that's been kind of bedeviling them. Their bad power play again. And David Riddick, really solid in net. Has been a really, really good number 2 for them. It's a lot to like. They lose Romanov, a top 4 defenseman. They lose Palmieri, a top 6 forward. You lose Horvat in the middle of this game. Everybody's going through it, and it affects everybody differently. You see, how other teams, whether it's Jersey or whoever, trying to handle their injury woes. Obviously, different level of player. But Horvat's been the guy for the Islanders this year, and they didn't miss a beat. They were still scoring. They were still attacking. You don't want to see him go out. You don't want to see him be out. But it's a really good sign for them that they didn't hang their heads. They didn't say, our guy is gone. Yeah, it was a nasty looking one. And you think immediately, because it happened to Palmieri, kind of not a similar spot on the ice, but a similar look where he got his leg bent onto him, torn ACL. This is not that, at least as far as we know right now. So, yeah, I mean, unfortunate way to kind of cap that one off. But, and they've got another big one on Saturday afternoon with Tampa, who's rolling, coming in. It's a big day at UBS. Pat LaFontaine goes into the Team Hall of Fame, about 2 decades overdue, and one of the greatest players ever to play, especially outside of the dynasty era. A high character guy. Guy's been a huge force for good on Long Island since he retired. So that's going to be an awesome day too, and you'd like to see the Islanders come through and play well against Tampa again for the 3rd time, I think, in about 12 days. So long way of saying, still like what I see. Unfortunate for Horvat. Hope it's short term, and I feel like they can weather this storm with the way that they're playing.
Rupp or anything?
No. Yeah, I mean, it's this is a gauntlet of games for them. You know what I mean? Like these, we talk about it and have talked about it last episode too, where these matchups, the teams they're having are some good hockey clubs. You just mentioned Tampa. It's not going to stop. I thought they've handled it really, really well so far. That Horvat one stinks. That plays nasty. I hope it's not too long. That guy has clearly been a big driving force for this hockey club. But I will say, the power play, buddy. I mean, you kind of just glossed over that. Like the power play, you get the big man, the Anders Lee in front of the net, man. He's making things happen. So that's a bright spot to maybe, if they can get any kind of resemblance of a good maybe middle of the pack power play run for a little bit here. That can serve them well with maybe a Bo Horvat out. So yeah, I just they impressed me. I don't know what else to say. They're a team that I'm starting to really believe that this is a team that can make some noise in the East, and it's feels kind of weird saying that because I didn't really know what to expect of them. I knew they had a lot of character. I knew that they were a team that had a very good goaltender, but they're way more than that. So yeah, we'll see where it goes from here. That was some nasty news. We saw it a lot in the NHL last night. A lot of big name players going down in fluky plays like that. So we hope the best for Bo Horvat.
And, one thing that stands out too, looking at stats, numbers, all those kinds of things, is the rush chances. Last night, the Islanders, I don't know if they scored a goal off the rush, trying to think back to the goals they scored. Obviously, Anders Lee scores those 2 goals right at the net front of the power play. Travis Mitchell, first NHL goal, scores one. A puck that was kind of thrown off the backboards. He comes in, I think, off the bench and bangs one home. Was Holmstrom's goal off the rush?
Yeah,
I think that was right. That was a rush.
It was
goal.
a great rush. I don't know what Olin Zellweger was doing on defending that one. He kind of olayed him right to the net. But yeah, they kind of you look at the way, since these are the teams we talk about, we look at the way the Rangers develop their offense. Very slow and methodical now. They're not fast. They're not necessarily a fast team. Islanders play fast, man. I think it's still such a shock to a lot of teams that don't see them very often, because that is not what you're used to seeing with these Islanders the last 10 years, really. You got to go back to you see that this is a straight one-on-one. He just blows by the guy. And Olin Zellweger is no joke. I mean, he's a good young defenseman. So good for Simon Holmstrom, who broke I think it was a 17-game goal drought the other day against Vegas. They need him to step up with Horvat out. He's been kind of bouncing around the middle 6. He might get a little bit more regular top 6. And Max Siplikov is a guy who's had a really nice first season in the NHL last year after he signed for 1 year. He signed an extension in the offseason. Kind of been in Patrick Waugh's doghouse. He's the first guy who seems to come out every night when they're getting healthy. Now with Horvat out, maybe he'll get some top 6 time. I think he showed he's not a fourth liner, and really the Islanders' fourth line right now with McLean, Cizikas, and Mark Gatcomb has been really good. I think Gatcomb, your boy Johnny, he really took to heart. He had such a nice pop last year out of nowhere, and then he ended up going down for the beginning part of this season just because of a log jam of forwards. And he's come back, and I think he really has been hitting everything. He blew up Radko Gudas last night. Didn't shy away from that. That puts a smile on your face. If you're Patrick Waugh, you see him, he's embracing his role. So Siplikov will get a chance here for however long Horvat's out. Kind of highlighting their depth. Our producer Vic, big Leafs fan, I heard that Toronto's been sniffing around on Siplikov. There's probably some other teams, as Elliot Friedman reported today. And I don't think the Islanders can really afford to give up on any of their depth. I don't think any team can with these injuries. You're not trading guys that can come right into the lineup and be a top 6 guy like Siplikov, and you want to see him get hot, force a decision when Horvat's back. But yeah, the fact that they're not reaching for someone when their top scorer goes out, they've got a guy that can plug right in, who's got some history as a decent top 6 guy. Another good sign. It's all good signs right now.
I want to go back to your playing fast comment, though, Arthur, and just read out what Mike Kelly put out yesterday from Sport Logic, just like a comparison from the Islanders of last year to this year. And he said, the Islanders are the team that dumps the puck in the least, where last year they were 6th in that rate. That's what playing fast is, too. It's getting over the blue line with possession and making plays happen. And they're 3rd in rush goals, 13th in rush chances, 7th in possession entries. And last year, in possession entries, they were 26th, rush chances 22nd, and rush goals 15th. This is a team that attacks you off the rush. They're dangerous. And to the point of the Rangers, they have the second gear. They have guys who can really get explosive and burn by defensemen, where the Rangers don't have that. The Devils have that, right? The Devils have the guys who can kick it into an extra gear. But the Islander team, they'll skate circles around teams in the offensive zone. It's not even just off the rush. It's once they're in the offensive zone, they're constantly cycling, they're climbing the wall, they're D or mobile. They're doing everything. They're just playing hockey the right way, and they've been doing it all year. It's not something that's new. They've been doing it since the first game. And I think having the guys on the back end too, like not back end, but the bottom of your lineup, like Gakholm. One thing about Mark Gakholm that I learned when we spoke to him earlier this summer and from like his college teammates was his motor doesn't stop. Like he's a guy who was at the front of every conditioning test at UConn. Like his team nicknamed him the horse, and not for the reasons that you probably think, or the inappropriate people probably think. But
what is that, John?
Everyone knows what I'm alluding to there, but just because again, like you get on the ice with the guy and Rupper, right? Like there are some guys in practice like who are unreal practice players but aren't gamers, and like the guys who like just skate around everybody in practice, but when it comes to a game, they're a little lost. Like we've all had those teammates, but Gakholm's not one of those guys. Like he does it in practice.
I love his
and
game.
in the games. Yeah.
No,
I saw he had like more hits in like 4 games than who was it?
He's like since he's come up, he's like 3rd in the league in hits. He's just
insane.
And I don't think that's really his game. I think he was a scorer and he scored a lot last year because they needed him to score goals because the Islanders didn't score goals. Now they need him to grind out shifts and maybe Vic can find that clip of him blowing up Gudis. It was that's a guy who takes numbers, and he just went up and threw him into the end wall. And I'm sure Cal Clutterbuck, who was between the benches, was probably pounding the boards there, giving him some nuts as he came by, because that's the kind of play that really gets everybody juiced up. And I think seeing that, what you're getting out of Mark Gakholm, and that's going to keep him in the lineup for sure.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if we'll get that clip, but it also looks like he got some extra time too. Was he out there with
he was rotating up
for a little bit
once Horvat came out, and he's a guy, he kind of reminds me, again, if we're just keeping it in the tri-state, he's got a little Jody Brodzinski in him. Just a guy who you put him on the ice and you say like, we need X, we need some jam in this shift, or we need you to funnel some pucks to the net. We need this, and he gives it. And that's guys like that will always have jobs. And on this particular Islander team, where they don't need him necessarily to score, all right, so go out and be a grinder on the 4th line and throw your body around and give some snow showers to the goalie, or do whatever you got to do in your 30 seconds and come off.
But that's a great point, the way you guys are both kind of explaining Gakholm, where he is a player, you have more, that you can give more offensively, but you got to embrace what you're given and demand more time. And that's going to be, hey, this is the role I have right now, and it's about going out there and delivering whatever that job is. And if that's finishing checks, grinding it out on the forecheck, if it's, they've been contributing, that's been a real benefit for this Islander squad right now. But you buy more ice time, those opportunities will come. And there may be a day where you start talking about this guy where he's getting maybe in the teens of goals. Who knows, man? Maybe it can go even further. I think of some other players that have starts like that. Maybe it looks a little bit different, but I mentioned it on here before. I go back to like Brian Rust coming in the league with Mike Sullivan. Like, he plays with Sidney Crosby, but he was a 4th liner, and he went out there and made things happen, provided some energy, and then there's trust there, and then you can put him out there in different situations, and that's how you build your career. So I love watching him. The development of Gakholm, this 4th line's been really, really nice. And you mentioned it before, it slots everybody. We mentioned it in the last episode, how you can get Siplikov. Like, Siplikov will have some moments because he's big and strong, but he's not a 4th line guy. So now you have guys that are at least given the opportunity to slot appropriately, and maybe you can get the best out of Siplikov. We'll see how that plays out, what he looks like long term. I don't know, maybe another team's going to swoop in. It makes him expendable. I don't know. There's 100 different ways it can go, but it's all positive for the Islanders. And man, they're rolling right now.
Any final thoughts on the Islanders, Arthur, before we kind of move into the Devils here? I guess actually, what does the Islanders like Hall of Fame entail? Is there something in UBS Arena? This is probably something that Islander fans are going to call me an idiot for, but I don't really know what their Hall of Fame looks like.
It's been, the history of it, and I'm part of the selection committee, so I'm not going to reveal too many details. There's, it was Brent Sutter was kind of the first one when they reformed this Hall of Fame, and it's kind of had a bunch of different iterations. With all the the history that they have from the 80s, and a lot of those guys are in the Hockey Hall of Fame, and rightly so. I think the Islanders wanted to honor those guys all the way along. A lot of numbers are retired, but I think there's definitely that second tier of guys who deserve honoring, and they brought it back under Charles Wang in the 2010s. They had kind of like decade honorees. Kenny Janssen came back. There's a great picture of Kenny Janssen in a tuxedo on the ice when he was honored being in the Islanders Hall of Fame. And they dropped it for a while. Now new ownership, John Ledecky and Scott Malkin wanted to bring it back and kind of make it kind of like a proper Hall of Fame where they get a few of us longtime people who've been around the Islanders together to debate. And really the debate is mostly about a lot of worthy guys. Brent Sutter, the fact, he's 4-time Stanley Cup champion, no number retired, but still deserving. Patty LaFontaine, incredibly deserving. There's a lot of other guys waiting behind him, whether it's Chico Resch or some more modern guys, Josh Bailey, who's recently retired, is one of only 3 guys with 1,000 games with the organization. There's going to be a huge wave of guys that were here for 800-900 games who are going to be, when they retire, get ready to go in. So it's it's a nice thing, and it's also, I think, with Patty going in, kind of brings more recent fans, 90s fans into the fold. I mean, it was a dark era, as of Islander fandom, kind of from 93, from the Ray Ferraro era team that upset the Penguins to about 2013 or 14 or 15 when they finally won another playoff series. So not a lot of great stuff in there, but a lot of fans have great memories that don't go all the way back to the dynasty. So it's good to see. I think all teams should do that stuff. It's you want to connect with as many generations of fans as you can and get people interested. And like I said, Patty's one of the great human beings who has ever been around the sport. So totally deserving. It's going to be a fun afternoon.
His brother John was my favorite coach of all time. He was my coach in juniors. I love John LaFontaine. He kind of shaped me into the person I am today, actually. He was the first coach I had when I moved away from home, when I moved away from Long Island and played in Texas. And he kind of taught us to appreciate everything. Obviously told a lot of stories about growing up with Pat down the hall, and Pat's son, Daniel, who I played against growing up. Pat and Steve Webb, coached the Long Island Royals U16 team. They actually had a show on NHL Network, if you remember that. I forgot what it was, Making of a Royal, 10 or 12 years ago, talking about Pat LaFontaine's U16 team. And they won the national championship that year. And we shared the ice with them in practice sometimes, and being on the ice with Pat LaFontaine and trying out for that team and getting cut, which sucked. But I've been around Pat LaFontaine a long time, and his son Daniel and his brother John, and great people, great family. And again, it's super cool to see him go in. And what I love about UBS Arena too, I think I've said this before, but it's one of the only arenas I feel at least in the NHL, that's branded for the team. It's an Islanders branded rink, right? They don't share it really with anybody. And when you look around the rink, it's so cool that they have, I guess, just the Islander feel. It's really a home for them, where, the Prudential Center, the MSG, people share that arena. Other teams come in, Seton Hall in Jersey, and obviously the Knicks in MSG, and UBS Arena is certainly special for that sense too.
Yeah, totally agree. It's one of the great new arenas. It's whatever it is. It's only 5 years old, and I think Islanders just haven't had any success in it, so it doesn't feel special yet. But once they do, I think people, when more people start to come in, whether it's national media or people like that, I think it'll get a little bit more love too when people start talking about how cool it is.
Mm-hmm. All right, is it time to go into Devils?
Oof. No. Let's get all the good news out of the way.
Yeah, I think we have a voicemail too that can maybe lead us in, Vic, if you want to cue up a voicemail from a Devils fan that we have on tap here.
Rupper. Name's Tim. How are you? I need you to talk me off the ledge, man. The Devils are falling like a stone, and this is now 3 years of piss poor, gross brand of hockey. Transitions are too slow. The ozone is too perimeter. What's going on here, man? Need you to talk me off the ledge. Johnny, don't want to hear a word you have to say. Thanks. Bye.
Boy, Timmy.
All right.
Tony, I'll tell you this much. Want me to talk you off the ledge? That's a way to get me in your corner telling Johnny to shut his mouth. No, I'm just kidding. Great call, great question. Timmy, I wish I can tell you it's going to be okay. I don't know if it's going to be okay. This is a team that is dropped fast. I mean, what was what calendar wise? Where was it? Like, I know that they were in first place in the division, arguably like right there in the conference. And now to look where they're at, they just plummeted, And I know how tight it is because a few days ago, I mean, they were I think second to last in the division, or sorry, the conference. So they got that win against the Ottawa Senators. I thought that was okay. We're starting to build it back here, and then that game against Tampa. So the thing for me in that game, it's like, although the score was 8-4, it wasn't. They didn't get played out of the building. Now, some of the plays in the game look like the Bad News Bears. I mean, you got players running into each other, falling down, blown coverage. Both goaltenders were goal save above expected. Were both about a -2, almost 2.5. You can't have that. Like, that was one of those nights where you're going against a team in Tampa that just put up, I think, 6 the game before, and you're thinking, all right, we've got to have our best effort. And unfortunately, you didn't get it from the goaltending as well. So it's one of those nights where you wear it. Yeah, I'm not in that room. I don't know, but it sounds like they had the closed door meeting after what game was that after the Boston game?
Boston.
Yeah, Boston.
And then I don't know, but it sounds like there was maybe something else after last night's game. I mean, you're getting to the point now where it's like you can't have that. You need to have the meetings, but if everything's said, then what do you do? That's where it gets to a breaking point when you start looking around and you start thinking there's some other teams that are going through it, like Winnipeg Jets are going through it right now. And I think the same thing, and it's not to that level, I don't believe, of the Winnipeg Jets right now, but when you have closed door meetings, when you have these meetings and you talk about it and nothing changes, there's nothing else left to be said. And then that's as a player that weird place, because now you're waiting for something to happen. Mm-hmm. And what does that mean? It could be a trade. It could be some sort of shakeup in some way, shape, or form, or it could be waiting for a player to come back from injury. But regardless, waiting is the enemy in this situation. But what else you can't keep saying things inside that room, because I've been in rooms before where it's like it's silent after games, like last night, because no one knows what to say. You feel stupid saying it because everything has been said. So, man, I don't know. This is something where I like to always sit there and put myself in the shoes of the player, and you always you're looking for any kind of positives. I think it could be, hey, we battle through this, will make us stronger down the road here. But this is a team that they're a little lost right now. I mean, they don't look like themselves. They don't look like they're confident. I mean, they'll come out and they'll play a good brand of hockey for a stretch, but the first sign of something going sour on them, it seems like it starts snowballing. So, yeah, I don't know. The other thing, just they missed obviously Timo Meier in the lineup. So
yeah,
with him and whatever their family's going through, his family situation, that's understandable. Go take care of that business and hope everything's situated there and they're able to get him back. But this is, yeah, I don't know. Because as the game went on, they made some plays, did some things, and I'm like, does it matter now? Like Brader had an awesome goal in a point of the game where it didn't really matter. I don't know what to make of them, fellas. I'm getting nervous. Like, I'm getting nervous that it started off where when things started going a little bit sideways, where I thought, okay, that stinks. They could have won the division. They could have been pushing for the conference. So, okay, they're going to be a little more of a dogfight to make the playoffs. Or I don't know if they're going to make it. Like, that's how bad it's getting right now, or at least trending, in my opinion. And the goaltending, that needs to be a strength. And there's some nights where the goaltending has been good. The team has let the goaltender down or goaltenders down. Last night wasn't one of them. It went the other way. It's a nasty cycle right now.
So where I'm at with this, again, like we had talked about a few weeks ago, once Jack comes back, they'll be fine, right? Like it's kind of like they're just missing Jack. They're lost without their best player. They're still playing okay hockey. Like structurally, they don't look so bad. But the Ottawa game, they played well. Like let's give them credit. They played well. Earlier this week, they played well. They got good goaltending from Markstrom. They deserve the credit for that win. The game against Tampa, like Jack Hughes in the game doesn't change a thing from that outcome, right? Like you don't throw Jack Hughes in that game and all of a sudden the Devils play a better style of hockey or a better
maybe you lose
brand of hockey in that game.
Instead of 8-4.
Yeah,
That's about it.
To that point. But I really think I know we'll probably show a goal or two from this game, but the Pontus Holmberg backhand goal to make it 3-1 after Luke Hughes has that gorgeous spin move from the point, he walks in and goes blocker side. Like when you let in a backhanded goal on the 5-hole on like a shot that probably should be a save 10 times out of 10, like that's when the bench goes, you got to be fucking kidding me. Right? Like I'm sure Devils fans were saying that too. And here's the goal, Vic. Unbelievable job. Like that's just a good indirect play that Holmberg skates into, but the backhand is a pretty weak backhand that goes to the 5-hole, and Markstrom's angle didn't look like it was good on that shot. But even if the angle was good, it's a 5-hole goal. Like it's not. I don't think 5 holes are an angle thing. But that really seemed like it deflated the entire team. And Markstrom he got pulled after that goal too, and he was a little bit feisty with the media after the game. And I know we have that queued up too, Vic, if you want to play that quick and we can kind of react to Jacob Markstrom.
Are you 100% or is there something bothering you?
No, because I'm playing bad. Is that why? Or that's what you mean?
Well, no, I'm just wondering if you're.
Yeah.
Well, how would you assess how you played this season?
Well, not good enough. You?
So I just look at the numbers, 875, same percentage.
Yeah.
Like, yikes. I don't know. That just seems like there's a lot of frustration kicking in, and no goalie wants to be pulled. Obviously, you can't expect Markstrom to take those questions like a champ. I mean, like I feel most goalies would probably react that way, but I don't know. That just gives me really, really bad vibes that even when Jack Hughes comes back, everything is sort of out of whack right now, and one player is not going to fix it. That's just where I'm at.
I'll jump in and say, very rarely these days do you see a goalie who got pulled in the first 7 minutes come out and do media. So kudos to Jacob Markstrom for facing the music chair.
Yeah.
And he's, we always talk about, we want to see the unvarnished truth. We don't want to see a lot of cliches. Guy's pissed off. He's mad at himself. He's maybe mad at some of the questions. Okay. That's part of the deal. But I feel like too, the stat, when I was just kind of looking around for some stats on them, 10 losses by at least 3 goals this year out of the 13 regulation losses. They're up there with St. Louis, with Nashville, with teams that we are saying are out of it and should be sellers. And that to me is a big red flag that not only are you not getting the goaltending that you need, you're getting reactions to the bad goaltending. You're not getting guys that are trying to pick up their goalies and say, all right, we're going to win this one, even though our goalie's having an off night. You're getting the team sagging back. And I know, my buddy Steve Valiquette, he's crunched the numbers over the last few years. I think it's somewhere in the 85% range. If your goalie gives up a low danger goal, like that Holmberg goal, 85% of the time you lose the game. And it's just, it's just mental. You see your goalie give up one of those and it's just sort of like, okay, we can't win tonight because he's not stopping the puck. It's a natural reaction for anybody, even high level athletes. But to have 10 of those games where you essentially get blown out, you're not talking about a 1-goal game with 2 empty netters all the time. They are out of these games that they lose and they look bad doing it. That to me is a sign of a team that's not in the right headspace. And, this clip that Vic has for us, you're watching them defend. It's a lot of reaching. It's a lot of running out of position. That's just a team that's not in the right headspace. And I don't know. I'm with Rupper. I'm sorry, Tim. I know you're out there on the ledge, man. I don't know how to talk you off it because I'm not seeing anything that says this team can turn it around right now. Maybe when Jack comes back, maybe when Pesce comes back, maybe if they pull the trigger on a big trade. I mean, we've heard more Quinn Hughes chatter even since the last show that we did a few days ago that, We saw Nico Heischer's name being thrown out there because Vancouver wants a center. Obviously, that's not happening. If Quinn Hughes wants to go to Jersey, they're not giving up their number one center. They're not giving up their number one center at all. Maybe for Connor McDavid, they do that. But so something's got to break here. And the fact that they're waiting for it to break means I don't know where the end of this tunnel leads. It doesn't lead out into the light right now. There's another train coming, it looks like.
Did you guys catch?
Sorry.
Sorry, I just want to say real quick. Did you guys catch? So let me go back to the time frame, because when I was watching the game, I was doing the Amazon Rip Around show last night, and so the Devils game was up on one of the monitors, and so I'm watching, and when you go, let's see, so first period just 2:57 in, so they did those two quick goals.
Mm-hmm.
After I think the Paul goal, camera goes right to the bench. Sheldon's barking already. And then the Radish goal, Sheldon's red-faced and barking. So like all these signs that we're seeing where Markstrom's post game, and I agree with what you said, Arthur. I'm a huge Jacob Markstrom fan as far as just as a leader, as a human being, as a teammate. Like every time and everybody I've spoken to just raves about him. I think he takes pride in what he does, and he stands up for he does the right things. So him being frustrated like that, it's not a bad thing. I think it could be a good thing, but it shows frustration. Yeah. And Sheldon Keefe was frustrated from the get on last night's game. So he's not liking what he's seen. So, but like that's such a situation where when you're on teams like that, and again, not to know what exactly happened, but if you're having these closed door meetings, it's the coach is yelling after 2 minutes, 3 minutes into the game. Like everyone's feeling out of sorts, and I just don't know. And maybe that's, I hate to say it. Maybe that's your answer. Like with no Jack, how good is the team? Like that's a fair question to ask. Does this go from, hey, we need to make a trade to get over the hump, to, is this another situation where it's like, I don't know if we should do anything. I don't know how good we are yet. You know what I mean? Like that's up to the players to prove to management. And I know fans are going to hate that. I'm not saying that's the right thing to say. At this point, I think you got to make a move. I think you got to make a move just to make a move. Like if you believe in this group at all, which I think that you should, you got to make a move. They're so delicate right now. So and I'm not saying it has to be the big Quinn move. They need help, man. They need something, because every sign is showing uptight, hesitation. The defense, like everyone's trying, they're trying, but it ain't working. And yeah. I just, it's hard to think that one player coming back is going to flip a switch on this hockey club.
Well, like Pesce also, we got to keep Pesce in mind too.
I'm with you, Rupper, on the trade thing. We kind of were on the fence about it, where you say you hate to kind of do they got to do something, but it does feel like that. And I feel like the thing that they've got to do is get a shit kicker. Are you talking to Vancouver? What do you trade Dawson Mercer for Connor Garland just for this? Connor Garland it's not a match age-wise, it's not a match necessarily skill-wise, but Connor Garland is a pain in the ass in his own room too, I've heard. So I think maybe you need somebody that's going to set off a little smoke bomb in that room to come in and not only be that person, but Fitzy is sending the message that we are too mentally soft. We need to be tougher, and I'm bringing in somebody to be mentally tougher. There's a balance to that. That's essentially what the Rangers did. That's what Chris Drury identified at his team. He needed a team that was mentally tougher. Now, unfortunately, you're seeing maybe they're not as skilled, and you got to find that balance, and it's hard to find it. But I think the hard question for Fitzy is the core of this team. We haven't always seen it because of Jack's injuries, because the goaltending was not up to snuff for a while, and it's still not. But you seemingly have the guys there that you want to have in net. Do you have, when everybody's together, can you say this is a team that is mentally tough enough to go to the playoffs and go 4 rounds? And what the evidence right now is, fuck no, it's not. And so now you obviously want Quinn, and you want to be able to have the assets to make that deal. But for now, I feel like they should be looking for somebody who's gonna start to pull the rope a little bit and smack some guys over, across the face and say, we got to be better.
The mental toughness thing, though, it's an interesting question to ask because, like, right now, while they might not look it or be it, when you are we can't ignore what they're missing, right? Like when you are missing Pesci and even like a Kovacevic and Jack obviously up front, like it could be if they were going through this with those guys looking this way, different story. But like I still think the feeling of having no help is what's getting them. It's not like I don't know if it's a mental toughness, more of like we need help. You know what I mean? Like I think those could be two different things. And I'm just thinking out loud.
I'm with Rupper though. You have a team that's waiting around or pleading for help at this level with the way that the league is, all the parity. There's teams that have the same skill level as the Devils do right now, missing those two guys that are winning games. There just are.
Yeah.
And I understand the goaltending is a big issue, but you watch teams come back from deficits. I watched San Jose come back on Toronto last night to win in overtime.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get into a Leafs discussion or anything. I don't want Vic to run off in tears or anything, but there are teams out there that have the same skill level as the Devils do right now. And nobody's sinking like a stone. Nobody's out of it. Arguably the Rangers have goaltending is a huge difference, but 18 skaters, are they a better team than the 18 skaters the Devils are putting out there right now? I don't know. It's a debate though, and they can still find ways to win games. I just think you have to be able to quickly identify as a GM whether the core of your team, whether the makeup of your team is good. And it takes two to tango. Maybe Fitzy's been begging for a trade for the last 3 weeks and nobody is biting because nobody's really out of it or the prices are too high. But you have to make that decision quick and start to make the changes because no move clauses, all long-term contracts. It takes a long time. You're turning around a cruise ship, basically. You can't just like switch gears that fast as much as people would love to have it.
One thing too, if I can just add a number. Okay, go.
Yeah,
sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was looking up some Markstrom stuff, just to add a number because we were talking about goaltending, right? Like, this is from Ryan Novozinski, who does a good job covering the Devils. He said, I was looking at the game log for this year, and Markstrom has given up 3+ goals in all but 2 of his starts. Just plain bad. So this was a quote tweet from someone, Perrin91, that said, since his injury that took him out a little under 2 months last season, Markey has started 33 games and has given up 3+ goals in 24 of those games. That's 73% of his starts. Like, you know what I mean? That's they need more from their goalies. Like, and Markstrom was the guy that came in. Remember Jack did that post-game interview maybe 2 years ago. Like, we finally got a save or something. He said, like, on the MSG like arena microphone. I'm pretty sure he said that after a game. And Jake Allen has been the better guy. Like, Rupper, you mentioned it. Like, maybe bringing Markstrom in even that first game in Colorado. Like, just bad start to his season by doing that.
Yeah, I mean, that's water under the bridge now. That would not have been the game I brought him back for, but nonetheless, like, so here's the thing though, like, so we're going to sit here and talk about this. And I know we're still going back to Tim, and all Devils fans. Yes, we can kick around, man, they're lifeless. They're this, they're that. They need help. I do believe they need help. They need something. They need a shakeup right now. But inside that room, that can't be their mindset. That's for us. That's for us to kick around out here. Inside that room, like, and I don't know what was said. I don't know, but it doesn't look like the swagger and confidence and saying the right shit at the right time is so important. And not every team. There's teams I've played on that when you have guys that do that, like, right, that message in that room right now has got to, like, you mentioned Arthur, like, and I agree that they're missing some talent. They got a shit ton of talent in that lineup right now. Are you kidding me right now? They got 2 90-point guys in their career that are in that lineup. You know what I mean? They got Nico Hischier, Jesper Bratt, you got Timo Meier, who was out last game. You know, Timo Meier's a 40-goal man in this league. and he's been playing pretty solid actually. Dawson Mercer is pushing a 30 goal. Like was he had like 27 goals a couple times or right in that range. Like, I hate to say it, it's like time to for lack of a better, grab your sack and let's fucking go. Like, what are we doing? Like, we got a squad.
Yeah.
You can't sit here and be like, well, we got that out of the lineup. I see that from what we're seeing on the ice, but someone in that room needs to be like, no, like everyone shut the fuck up. Let's go. Like we've got enough talent here to not do what we're doing right now. And just some sort of confidence, because it just feels like everything's just doom and gloom, and you're looking for that next game, and it's like, oh, and when's Jack coming back? And that cannot be the case. And I hate to compare it to anything, but when you go through times like this, it should bring that ornery junkyard dog out of you. I remember one of my years, I think, in my career where I was like, oh man, we missed an opportunity there. It was in 2011, I think, Pittsburgh. We were without Crosby and Malkin both for more than half the year. We finished with like 106 points. And we had like a first line center of Jordan Stahl. You know why? Why? Because we wanted to prove. Like, we were more than just those guys. We knew those guys were the most important thing on our team, and not trying to knock. It's Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby. But it brought levels out of guys, and you found out who, for lack of a better term, who the dogs were. Like, this is the time you gotta elevate and find those moments, and they just haven't gotten those responses yet. So I don't know. I don't know where it goes, but we're starting to get in that delicate time where I'm starting to get a little worried about if they're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Well, Rupper, they do have a lot of team meetings, so maybe you can pop in there and send that message along next time they close the door on everybody. Could be soon. All right.
Well, just one more thing, just to add.
On?
I was just gonna add. Ryan Novozinski again. Like I was just kind of like looking through his Twitter page, and someone asked him like when Fitz was going to be available to speak, and he said that they had asked to make Tom Fitzgerald available, and I guess that request was denied. But he assumes that he'll speak around deadline time. Like, if you are Fitz right now, and your fan base is not at ease, and they're coming at you a little bit, like, do you think he should address the media here in the next few days? Like, they got Anaheim on Saturday and Vancouver on Sunday, both games at home. Obviously they're playing Quinn on Sunday. Like, that's going to be a big thing. But yeah, I just don't know what the Devils want to hear from their GM, or Devils fans, excuse me, want to hear from their GM. What could he come out and say that's going to make Devils fans feel better?
Yeah. I mean, I've gotten it a lot over my career of fans asking me like, we demand answers, and it's kind of like, okay, if they're available. Like, I covered Garth Snow for a long time, who probably said 50 words a year to the media. Not that there was a lot of media around. Chris Drury does plenty of, a few availabilities a year, and if you get 6 usable words out of it, that's a lot, and that's a credit to Drew, because he knows how to say nothing. Lou Lamoriello was always available and never said anything of consequence. So these guys know how to say nothing, is basically, and kind of tamp down all these questions. So it would be good for him to be available. I think it's smart, especially because the Devils have such a small media crew that follows them around on a daily basis. It's not going to be a Leafs press conference. It's not going to be a Canadiens press conference. It's going to be a pretty manageable group. So I always feel like, be available, say nothing. People will be mad no matter what you say, because there's the team's just not good right now. So yeah, I think it would help the Devils if he spoke, and I think the natural response within the organization, I'm sure, is, what can he say? Like, he's trying to make a trade. You need another team to make a trade. I think if you just say that, sometimes people need to be reminded that you can't just snap your fingers and change your roster.
Yeah. We do have like one more somewhat Devils related voicemail, Vic. I think we can cue this one up before we go into our Rangers part of the show here, just to round out the show. So Vic, if you have that voicemail ready to go, let's play this one to lead into our New York Ranger conversation and wrap up the Devils one.
My question actually is about the standings and the point system. I feel like you guys are the only people in the hockey verse that I have yet to hear give a definitive opinion on if you think the 3-2-1 point system is something that they should move to. The one caveat that I have is I, more than anything, along with the 3-2-1, I want ties brought back to replace shootout. I would just play 3-on-3 for 5 minutes. If you don't get anything, you both get a tie, you both get a point, and then you obviously have the 2 points for an OT win, 3 points for regulation, and you get nothing at all for losing under any circumstance. I just think it would be a better representation of who the better teams are and would lead to not having such clogged standings, which for some reason just doesn't feel right. What do you guys think about that? And more importantly, do you think that this is something that the NHL would actually move to in the near future? They always seem very resistant to change, but I just wanted to get your opinion on it. Thanks, guys. Love the show.
That was from
We can do a
Bobby.
whole show on this.
Yeah. Thank you, Bobby, for calling in. I could not want ties any less. I don't think as a fan though, I don't think any fan wants to leave an arena after a tie. Like, to me,
Bobby does.
yeah, I can't get on board with that. The 3-2-1 point system, like, I'm familiar with that in college. Like, they do that in hockey East. Like, they've been doing that in college for a while. So again, 3 for a regulation win, 2 for an overtime win, 1 for a shootout win. And I think you get one. Would you get 1 point for the shootout? If you get to a shootout, I think you get 1 point. If you lose, I'm pretty sure that's what the 1 point is. But to me, like, regulation wins should mean the most. Like, a regulation win and an overtime win should not be the same thing. Especially when regulation wins is like a big part of the tiebreaker too, come down to the end of the year. So I'm all for 3-2-1. I've always been all for 3-2-1. I'm not for ties, and that's kind of really all I got to say. I'll kick it over to you guys to make it more in depth, but that one's pretty self-explanatory for me.
Yeah, I'll chime in. My wife is not a huge hockey fan, even though we've been together for almost 20 years. Excuse me. And when I explained to her that some games are worth 3 total points and some games are worth 2, I think her reaction was, well, this is the dumbest fucking sport imaginable. What are they doing? And she's kind of got a point there. All games should be worth the same number of points. So yeah, 3-2-1 makes the most sense to me. And to the second part of Bobby's question, leaving out the ties, no, I don't think they're going to change it anytime soon, because I think the league and the team's owners, they love having everybody in it. To my mind, you want to embrace the rumor mill trade market a little bit more and make that more active. And I think 3-2-1 would kind of separate the teams a little bit earlier in the year, obviously. So maybe that's a pitch to make, that the rumor mill industrial complex that exists with insiders and all that stuff around the league. It's the stuff that everybody talks about. We talk about it all the time too. I think you should want to embrace that more. And I think 3-2-1 would allow that to be embraced earlier in the year. And it just makes more sense to, there's no logic to having some games worth more points than others. It's insane. Off to you, Rupper. What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, so I think the big thing is to look at it. What it is the business of the NHL, and what is happening in the standings this year in both conferences is exact reason why this system's in place. You've got markets, you got teams that I believe are smoke and mirrors that are right on the cusp of the playoffs, and we're 30 games in. They might be there at 50 games in. They might be there at 60. They might be there all the way through to the end. They're going to be in a mix here where if you had a system where it was like win or lose, there would be so much separation here. You've got teams like before last night, because the Montreal Canadiens won last night in regulation. They were a team with 8 regulation wins in 29 games. So think about that for a second. This is a team that was like leading that division for quite some time. And a lot of people are like, oh, this team's exciting. And they're exciting. But it's not a good team. They haven't arrived yet. So like to sit here, but that's what what you want to have is the fan bases all be, oh, look at the standings. We're right here filling up arenas. You're keeping the buzz alive. You have all these teams in the mix here. Like there's really nobody in the league when you're looking, you're like, oh, they're dead in the water. I mean, it was Calgary. Calgary started playing pretty good. And then you look where they're at. So like they're starting to kind of dig their way out in some regards. So everyone's kind of alive. And I think that's the goal of it all. I would love a 3-2-1 system because I think it'll really show who's who. But maybe it's good not to have everybody know who's who, because at the end of the day, it's a business, and you want the arenas to be filled and people to be on playoff runs.
Well, Vegas right now, just for this example, is 5th in the league based on points. They've got 9 overtime losses already, and 11 of their 15 wins have come in regulation. So they've got 4 like overtime shootout wins. Right there, that's 13. No, 9 plus 8, 17 points. Yeah, 17 points. Doing math on the fly here, I think. That comes in extra time. So like they're an example of a team that maybe isn't that high in the standings if you make it a 3-2-1. But yeah, I mean, listen, this is just one of those fun arguments. I could see them actually doing it at some point, though. Like this isn't one of those hypotheticals that'll never happen. Like I could see a 3-2-1 at some point happening. Can't you, Arthur? Or no? The ties never.
Yeah,
but 3-2-1.
Yeah, no, we're never getting ties back. But yeah, I would hope that they could see where you could still be competitive, have a competitive league deeper into the season, and allow the teams that are really good to get some separation. And like I said, it encourages this trade market that, gosh, I mean, we talked about it a lot. Like the insiders are just they're grasping at straws here, it feels like, and it's no fault to them. Nobody's doing anything. And that embracing that side of the business, which is kind of a more forward-facing thing, and acknowledging that a lot of social media chatter about teams and a lot of podcasts and a lot of everything is really built around trades and talking about trades and who's doing what and who's on whose list and who's talked to who. Like we get more of that if there's teams that are further out of it as we get into this time of year.
So the last thing that I wanted to mention too is coaches are doing their job, but they ruin everything and as far as this stuff goes, because overtime isn't what it once used to be. The end of games isn't what it used to be. You've got teams that are very clearly trying to get to the next threshold to get a point, and to get to the next threshold to get into a shootout. And I think that's going against what it was intended for, but they're doing their job. I mean, they're looking out for their team, and that's their job. So, if they had some sort of reward, like think about it from that standpoint. I know you don't want to make it too much video game-ish, but if you knew like you can almost get an extra point for actually going for a win, like maybe the 3-2-1 system or something where you can make up ground better in the standings, maybe that would allow some open hockey. And we still have some nights where it's like that, but there's a lot of nights where you watch the overtime and you're like, man, this is kind of tough here.
Yeah, but it's a good question from Bobby. Thank you for the call. And with that, let's go to some Rangers. Only one game so far this week, Wednesday night in Chicago. Dud of a game. Got outskated pretty much all night against the Blackhawks. And we talk about the Islanders and how fast they play. Like looking at some of the Rangers numbers, their odd man rushes, they're 31st in the NHL when it comes to odd man rushes. And even strength shot attempts from the slot off the rush, they're 28th, which – again, I like to look at Sports Logic also just because I can't afford Clearsight Analytics. So that's why I get my Sports Logic numbers. But again, like all these platforms are pretty great information or provide really strong information. But again, like when the Rangers play a team that's fast, like as fast as Chicago looked, at least it's gonna go bad every time. They couldn't contain them all night. A lot of stick checking, a lot of poke checking, not much physical play. And just, ugly performance. But listen, 4 of the last 5 have been pretty good. If they have one stinker every 5 games, I think that's something you could maybe, I don't want to say live with, but it's an improvement from what we've seen at the start of the year. And Arthur, if you got anything, or Rupper, if you got anything to go in depth about in that specific game, we can. But I don't know if it needs to be discussed so in detail, that one specific game.
I'll throw in, because we saw the thing that we'd been talking about, which is the 5-forward power play gave up an ugly shorthanded goal. And Mike Sullivan did make the switch to put Scott Morrow with that top group. They only got another power play, and it was fucking terrible with Scott Morrow out there.
Haven't had any practice with it yet either, though. So
no. So I'm curious to see. I'm sure they'll be on the ice today ahead of their game with Montreal tomorrow. So maybe we'll start to see Scott Morrow get a few more reps there. And actually, as someone pointed out to me on X, that the 5-forward power play actually generated a little bit in that power play before they looked like, didn't know where to go on Crevier's rush up the ice. But I think you got to produce. This is the concentration of all their skill guys. You gotta put guys in the right spots. And we've talked about it almost ad nauseum here. Panarin doesn't belong up top. He belongs where he belongs. Scott Morrow is certainly capable of distributing pucks to the guys in spots where they need them. And, at least you can see if he can do it. It doesn't make any sense to me with the way that they've played on the power play, and certainly the way that they played in this game on Wednesday, to not give it a shot, and maybe give it a shot with a little bit more of a heads up for Scott Morrow that he's going to do it.
Rupper, anything?
Yeah, I mean, it's time. It's time the kid to get a run here. And and it doesn't mean that they weren't getting looks. It's just, I mean, you have some of those. I think it almost gets to the point where if you're not scoring on it, and then you got that Crevier shorty, I think it's pretty evident on plays like that you're going to start having teams say, hey, let's attack these guys. Like, we get the puck. Like, let's communicate on our clears. If you got a second, get your head up. Let's blow the zone. Like, it could. That's an area that you want to potentially, like. Here's the kicks. The other flip side of it. Vegas is running a 5-forward unit, but they're buzzing, man. Like, they're seventh in the league. And so, like, you don't have time to think, oh man, let's take advantage of these guys. Let's see if we can get Mitch Marner isolated out in the neutral zone and see if he can defend like a defenseman. Like, you're trying to survive. Like, the Rangers, like, if you're not getting the scoring, that the fear factor is not there. Now you can start getting teams being a little bit cocky and when they're in a shorthanded position. So, I think you got to go with Scott Morrow. I mean, Mike Sullivan talked about it the other day. He said no one's Adam Fox. Okay. But like that they've got to figure out something here to get it where they can get some, they can at least look like a power play that's going to be a threat. And I think it's Morrow. If it's not Morrow, it's another defense, but you got to force someone into this situation. I don't know. Otherwise, I mean, I know that you guys were saying no to the Gustafson and some of the rumors out there, but you need someone to execute it. You need someone to be able to run it for the time being, because Adam Fox isn't right around the corner here.
Mm-hmm. And again, like, hopefully they get some practice reps in. Like, that's really important, especially for a young guy like Scott Morrow to feel comfortable. I think that the one rep he got, he looked a little nervous. Like, you throw him in a pretty high pressure situation in the third period of a game where the game's almost out of hand and you can't really expect much there. But I think a lot of people, especially me, have high hopes for what Scott Morrow can do. I watched him quarterback a power play at UMass for 3 years where he was unbelievable. And, his confidence has grown a little bit throughout the early parts of this season, but like, this is a really confident kid. Like, when you really see him on his game, like, he's going between the legs off the rush. Like, his offensive talent is unbelievable. Like, it really is. And hopefully once he finds that, you'll see it in the NHL, and you'll see, like, he's holding on to pucks a little bit longer and doing things individually. So we'll see what happens with Scott Morrow. But again, like, this will be a less Ranger-ish type show, but we'll get into what the Rangers have coming up, because next week will probably be a Rangers heavy show. They got Chris Kreider and Jacob Trouba returning on Monday night, and we're probably going to record after that game on Tuesday afternoon so we can recap that game. But Rupper, I'm actually going to kick it over to Arthur, because I know Arthur wanted to ask something specific about the return of Trouba and Kreider.
This is one of those Rupper takes us to hockey school insider moments that the main reason, one of the main reasons for me why it's super exciting to have him on the show. And I love having you too, Johnny. But this is a
I don't
guy
have
who's
these stories.
been in the NHL, who's been around, who's gone back into buildings as a visiting player to a place where he used to play. Fans don't always know what money on the board means. We hear it a lot. I think even some media people who never played don't really know what it means. And there is certainly going to be money on the board in that game on Monday when Kreider and Trouba are back at the Garden with Anaheim. So, Rupper, give us a basic explanation of it, and I'm sure that you've got a cool story or a funny one to tell about a money on the board situation that you were in back in the day.
Yeah, so there's this is a big week for the boys of the Anaheim Ducks. For the rest of the guys that aren't even involved there, because you get the potential of capitalizing on money on the board. So let me ask this though, because how many games has Trouba played against the Rangers? He's played a few games since last year,
Yeah.
right? Like they.
Oh,
so
since
what
last
I'm
year,
trying-
prior to the trade? Prior to the trade, you're
No.
saying?
No. How many? So I guess my point is
This is his
here.
return too. It's his return.
Yeah,
too.
this is his first game
This is his return, but he's played against the team. They played in Anaheim last year, right? So
Yeah.
okay, so this is the thing for me. There's kind of tiers here, and maybe that defeats the point a little bit because he's his first return to MSG, which is really big. So you're going to have money on the board is basically. You get guys, man, they dig deep on some of these. These are very surface level ones because these two guys, one was the captain of the New York Rangers. The other one's like a franchise, everything, pushing 900 games as a New York Ranger, Chris Kreider. So there's certainly going to be money on the board. It's your return. And basically the money on the board is for team functions, whatever. It's an opportunity for the players to get this money into the team fund so you can use it for whatever you want. You want to go out and pay for some dinner. You want to go out one night and let loose a little bit. Maybe it's a Halloween party. It's a Christmas party. It's something you want to do, year-end party. You start building and accruing some money from money on the board all season long. But the thing is, guys dig deep on this stuff. They dig real deep. I mean, you could be from I don't know, you could be from Delaware, and they're going to be like, oh well, we're playing in Philly, so you've got to cough up this, or you're playing at you could be from a remote place in Canada, and they're going to grab the nearest NHL city, and that's where you're going to put money on the board. But where it gets real juicy is these guys with who they were for the franchise. Original six, New York City. I don't know what the number is right now, but it used to be, generally speaking, returns. I mean, you're not going anything less than $500. Like, let's say for a guy like me, a bottom six player, you're putting at least $500 on the board. I mean, there's times where I had a return to New Jersey. I probably put 1,000 on the board because I won a cup in New Jersey. So the boys will give you a little pressure. Like if you go up, they basically just sit there and on the dry erase board, they'll write your number and they'll put a little question mark. And then they'll put the dry erase marker down. And then the boys will sit there in the room and start, clicking the fingers. You're like, hey, what do you got? Oh, hey, whatever. And you go up there and everyone watches you and you write what you want up there. And if the number's not good enough, the boys will give you some shit. Okay. And they'll let you know. So you don't want to go up there and be cheap. So you go up there and put your number. But some other returns for bigger name guys would be like $2,500. I very rarely saw it get kind of higher than that. I would think maybe some inflation now. Maybe it's a little bit higher. I'd have to guess Chris Kreider's return is probably a team meal. You might just write up there team meal. You can take all the boys out for food and drinks. I mean, it's $5,000 probably. It's something around there. But it's an opportunity. The team has to win to get this money. Okay. So that's some of it too. It's enticing where you'll go into a situation. You might throw a bunch of money up on the board. Even in a mundane game in the middle of the season where it's a big win. Hey, boys, it's an opportunity. I'm going to put $1,000 on the board. It'll go to the team fund. So, that stuff goes on. I think it's going to be a heavy, heavy board with the Rangers because you're going to go back to, Ryan Strom's still going to have to put money on the board. He was a New York Ranger.
Yeah, Frank Vatrano too.
Vatrano. Like they're not going to have to do what Kreider is doing and Trouba is doing, but they're still going to put up a few $100 on the board every time you pretty much play the Rangers, especially at MSG for here on out in their career. So, I don't know. It's it was funny though, because like I played for 6 teams, and then so you start putting money up depending on some of the teams in the division you're playing all the time. So eventually we started making up rules. I'm like, all right, man, after 6 years or you have certain teams drop off. Like I'm not going to do this forever for the Columbus Blue Jackets, who I played 40 games for, you know. But you know what's funny is I had a story, this one where I was playing for the Devils, and we would go to MSG, and we would go in there, and that was, you know, our biggest rival. And that doesn't matter if you take the first bus over or if you're in this situation, like you got over there early. On the board would say there'd be double L on the board and be $10,000 up on the board.
Wow.
And so I don't know if he told the trainers to write it up or if Lou came down early, but he'd write it on the board. Not going to do it in front of the boys for any hooting and hollering, just put it up there. And then you knew, like, oh shit, the big guy wants this one. The big guy wants this one. And I've been in there in times, and there's been a game. I remember distinctively one game. It was double L 10, 30, 10. And there was someone else that had something significant. I remember it was like 25 grand on the board for us against the Rangers. And we won the game. So it was like those games, like you just talking so much shit. Just think about it just from it's a long season. Maybe some people are listening to this thinking how stupid it is. But the boys, it's like, yeah, like, oh, let's take your money. Let's take his money tonight. So yeah, that's kind of how it works. There's going to be a heavy board there at MSG. But guys like Kreider and Trouba, they will gladly be able to pay and want to pay that bill to get a little bit of retribution against the Rangers.
And I guess in theory, like maybe, yeah, it does sound stupid, but it's like, this is how much this game means to me. Like that's what they're saying, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like, this game means $5 grand to me. Like I will give you guys literally $5 grand to win this fucking game for me. Like that's, you know what I mean? I think that's really cool, the messaging behind it. But isn't there like also like you can put money on the board for like the game winning, like whoever scores the game winning goal. Like, isn't that like
you can do anything, dude? You literally can make up anything. You could say, hey, game winning goal. Yeah, game winning goal. Here's $250. Here's whatever. You know, I mean, I've done it before. I don't know if I should admit this. I put money on the. All right, I'll tell it.
Yeah, tell it.
I had Brent Sutter as a coach in New Jersey. Brent and I didn't always see eye to eye. And I remember while he was coaching us, I'm pretty sure it was while he was coaching us. So that would have been, what year let me look this up real quick, because I did it. I'm pretty sure it was while he was coaching. So anyways, I'm going to, hold on. I know I'm dragging this here a second. I just want to make sure.
Are you looking up your own career? Or what are you looking up?
No, not mine. That's okay. So Brent Sutter was the coach in New Jersey, and we didn't always see him eye to eye. And it's just NHL seasons are long seasons. You just try to find things to just get laughs on, to get a little emotion involved. We were playing against Carolina, and Brandon Sutter, his son, is on Carolina. So I went up to the board and I put $100 on every hit that people would hit Brandon Sutter. So boys are just like, we're just everyone after each period are like, Rupper, I got 2 hits on him that period. That's $200. Like, hey, dude, we have to check the stats. I'm not going off you. We're going to see what the NHL actually gave for hits. Nothing dirty. It was no headhunting here. Just like finishing hits and whatever. It's just a way to kind of joke around, laugh before the game. But you know, you've had guys like that too. You had guys sitting there saying, hey man, like let's whatever, whether it's the game winner, the assist on the winner, you're doing anything just to be creative and try to have some fun out there.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
How did Brent feel
really
about that money on the board?
I never told it, so he probably didn't know. No, nothing dirty. I was very clear, just to be clear. I'm like, hey, no. We're not taking sussies. He didn't do anything wrong. We're just going to hit the kid every chance we get because we can't hit the coach. He's our coach.
That's good stuff, Rupper.
Fantastic.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of that shit that happens, honestly. But I love the honesty. Thank you for telling that story. I mean, again, like we'll talk more Kreider Trouba, I feel like Tuesday. Arthur, I know you've had pretty good relationships with both guys, or at least definitely with Kreider. If you want to go into that a little bit, just to preview what that means for them coming back Monday night?
I mean, Kreider is, Rupper, you know him well too. He's a kind of a quirky guy, very quiet in general. He can be talkative one-on-one. I've had lots of interesting hockey conversations with him, some non-hockey conversations with him. He's just he's kind of a thoughtful, unique guy in the hockey world. And I think, for a lot of years covering the Rangers the last few years, especially when Trouba was named captain, I think a lot of fans were like, it's got to be Kreider. And I think if you spent any amount of time in that room, you'd know how important he is, but how wearing the C was just not a fit for him. He's just not built to be a rah, let's group together guy. He's more of a one-on-one guy. He's done, Johnny, you saw it probably in that practice facility. He'd stay out late with any of the young guys. I think in training camp, he probably did it because he didn't want to do any interviews in the room or hang out in the room when the media was there. But you'd see him out there with Brennan Othman. You'd see him out there with Philip Hedl. You'd see him out there with Kakko, just sharing the ice, sharing wisdom. He's, I did a big story on him when I first got to the Athletic, just talking to people who know him well. I think he went to prep school with Garnet Hathaway. He just doesn't have a ton of close friends in the league. And we all know Mika Zibanejad's one of his closest friends. But he's just, hearing stories about, I think Rick Nash told me when he was on the Rangers, they were in Ottawa one year, and they come down to the lobby getting ready to go to eat, and they hear someone playing the piano, and it's Kreider. It's playing the piano like he's giving a concert. When I covered the Islanders, I remember he used to skate by the net when Evgeny Nabokov was the goalie for the Islanders and start speaking Russian to him, try to throw him off. And I remember Nabby coming up to me like, that Kreider guy speaks Russian. I said, is it any good? He's like, yeah, not bad. So I think he's a dude with a lot of layers and just like a really solid guy. And, it's certainly a guy who didn't want to leave. I feel like the way that he's playing now, where he's healthy in Anaheim, embracing a situation, and I'm sure Joel Quenneville has a lot to do with that, just kind of embracing that, being a guy who's utilizing his skills as a mentor that he's had for a long time with a team that's pretty young. A lot of the, so much of their skill is among their young guys out there. And I think he's thriving. I think he didn't think that this would ever be a situation he'd want to be in, but, typical for him, works his ass off in the summertime up here near me in Connecticut. A guy who, when they missed the playoffs, pretty much 2 days later, he's knocking on Ben Prentice's door, trying to get in and get working out for the summer. He just doesn't like the spotlight, but I think there's a lot that I've learned about him over the years of covering him that you like as a person. And that to me is just as important as what he's doing on the ice. So, I think all the Ranger fans know that this was not his choice, and he'll be welcome back. And it's going to be an awesome night for him, an emotional night for him. Probably an emotional night for Jacob Trouba too. I was going to say, they're both doing it at the same time. Takes a little bit of the heat off. So we'll see the reaction. And yes, I think money on the board will be motivation, but I think those are two fierce, proud guys. They're going to have a lot of motivation to win this fucking game. And I hope the Rangers understand that and match it, even if Anaheim wins that game. You just want to see some fight from the Rangers. We didn't see it in Chicago, and you got to show some pride, especially when those two guys are coming in.
Mm-hmm. I just wonder how awkward it might be, just the difference in tribute videos, for Kreider and Trouba. And I would hope Ranger fans are kind enough to Trouba, because his exit was a little rough too. And I know fans had their certain feelings toward him at the end, that they kind of, wanted him out of here as fast as possible. But he did a lot of good things for the Rangers. He did.
Yeah, he did.
And no, but I just don't know if fans really appreciated him for what he brought. I think at the end it was we got to trade him. It was pretty rough for Jacob Trouba, I think, toward the end, and the family stuff came out, and it was ugly. And I hope he doesn't get booed or doesn't receive any negative I guess, reactions from fans in his return Monday night. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited for that game. It's gonna be awesome.
I hope he lights someone up at center ice. That's what I hope for.
He probably will. I would think he
100%.
will.
Like
Yeah.
no, you know what? I didn't like the way he was treated going out. So
Yeah.
I'd love to see that. No, just last thing I want to tag with Kreids too. It's like I was there when Kreids arrived as a Ranger in 2012 playoffs. We don't probably have the success in 2012 that we had without Chris Kreider. I mean, just a breath of fresh air as far as just a long season. He was just a specimen, the way he could skate, the way he was built. And he gave us this spark against Washington. I think he had a big moment. I'm pretty sure against the Capitals. I mean, pretty much each round he was phenomenal. And you're talking about a player that he set the power play goals in the season record and beat Yager. That was that year. He had 27, I think. One of the great all-time Rangers. And think about it from this standpoint. I'm not saying this to poke fun at all, but it's been a while since 94, since they've won, where you think of some of the best Ranger memories. Chris Kreider's name's in there over these last number of years.
Yeah.
So, I hope that both guys get well respected. I think Ranger fans will do the right thing, obviously for Kreider, but I think so for Trouba as well. Like, this guy was the captain, man. Like, that was a nasty situation. Everyone's moved on, and I hope they get received the right way.
Do you want to hear my favorite Kreider stat, by the way, Repper? I mean, Arthur, I feel like you might know this. In games facing elimination in NHL history, Chris Kreider has 16 goals in 30 of those games. Mark Messier is the only other player. Mark Messier is the only other player with 16 goals. He did it in 24 games, but just goes to show you, back against the wall, who's going to score a goal? Chris Kreider. Like, to your point, Rupper, in every memory that I pretty much have as a Ranger fan, like when I was younger, in the biggest games, it was Chris Kreider scoring the goals. Like, even in that Devils series in 2023 where, the Devils winning Game 7, Kreider was the only Ranger that showed up offensively in that series. And I know that's
No,
he's far and away they're the franchise leader in playoff goals. Like, it's not even. I understand play more games, but there isn't even a close second to him right now. He was clutch performer and like I said, kind of a quirky dude, but I think that he embraced his little corner of New York sports, and he showed up in the big moments. We see a lot of the and I think the knock on him always was, I remember talking to one of his coaches who had moved on, was just kind of like, if any, this was probably 10 years ago. It's like, if anyone can unlock this guy, watch out. And I think, he kind of unlocked himself into his 30s. That 52 goal year really turned him into somebody different, a guy who showed up in every regular season game and finally figured it out.
He was, you mentioned quirky, and that just reminds me, like, it's just funny when he arrived on the scene. Again, we're in the middle of the playoffs, and I remember Callie was my stallmate next to me, and Kreider does some weird shit. Like, he does some weird shit. And so
doesn't he get like fully undressed between periods?
Fully undresses, and he came in. He would know what the way he would tie his skates. He stands up tying his skates, so he's standing up straight.
I've heard that.
Bends down and ties his skates. Doesn't sit down. So I remember we're sitting there, and I don't know if Callie nudged me, and he's like, "Look at this shit," and look over, and I'm like, "What's this guy doing?" He's standing over there. He's like, this kid. He's playing in the playoffs. We're like, "All right," but then you go out there, and we're like, "Yes, we got Kreider, the BC legend and whatever." And but he ties skates standing up. He would, when he would come off the ice, I remember early on, I don't remember if he did his whole career, but there'd be times where he comes off the ice. Guys usually climb over the boards. You kind of get one leg over like a saddle, and then you swing your other leg. I don't even know how he would do it. He'd come in, and his legs were straight, like perpendicular to the boards, and he would just step in I don't even know he would just lift his high knee and step into the bench. And he'd do it like fast, and it was nuts. And then like he jumping off the ice. Like, John, I'm sure you played with guys who like to, when they're doing a line change in the course of play, they like to prop up on the bench and jump off. But that's like, I played with Brian Giunta did that because he's 5'7". You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Chris Kreider was like, he would jump up and you'd be like leaning over next to him watching play, and he would like jump off the bench, and his skate blades would just come right past your face. I'm like, dude, you can't do. You're a big dude. You can't do that. We would sit there all the time, but he had these ways that he did things, very like just different, man, just different. But he was a absolute force when he arrived in New York.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll see a lot of those great memories again Monday night. We do have one more voicemail to get to quick before we wrap up today's show. So Vic, I do want to cue that up. A great show again today, guys. Like we think we've gone like an hour and a half already this morning. So fun talking to you guys always. But here's the last voicemail of the day from Gabe.
Hey guys, how are you? So I have a bit of a different question today. This is regarding the Rangers broadcasting. So Brian Boyle has done a bunch of games this season as the color analyst. And I don't remember MSG ever specifying in the summer when they announced Dave Maloney as the full-time color analyst that he would only be doing part of the games and Boyle would be doing the other. Has this been more of like an on-the-fly switch up, just seeing how good he was to start and giving him more games and letting Dave Maloney take off more? Because Brian just seems like the perfect guy to take over full time, given that, Dave is getting up there in age. And Brian is, really, really sharp and with it, breaks down the game really well. I know Mike Rupp works with him on the NHL Network. So what do you guys think?
Rupper?
So yeah, no. So I just first of all, Brian's excellent. I think
best.
Brian Boyle is one of the great minds that covers hockey now, and he just has a way of seeing certain things. And it's great working with him. I love working with him NHL Network because we can have a video and we sit there and just kind of hot stove before we even start shows. And he's done a phenomenal job overall. But in this new role, I think he's been excellent. And I will say this: I know in that process, what I was told in that process was that Dave was always going to be the guy, deservingly so. Dave's paid his dues, and he's a Ranger legend. So, but there was always a plan to have some sort of rotation to some degree. I don't know to what degree. So Brian Boyle wasn't to be just a fill-in. Like it was supposed to be some sort of share. I don't know what those numbers are. I don't know if those numbers have changed because Brian's done so well. But what I do know is he's great, and both guys, I think they have some sort of rotation and amount of games on the season. So yeah, I don't know. I don't have the answer is if that's grown or not, but it's always been a plan of some sort of rotation with Dave getting the lion's share. So I don't know if much has changed.
Mm-hmm. I don't have anything on that. Arthur, you got anything?
No, love both guys. Two of my favorites.
Yeah.
And Dave, like you said, I think it's, it's a little different. I think the broadcast, obviously Sam and Joe were a pair that was together for a long time. And Joe is such a consummate pro and prepares the right way. And Dave does the same, but Dave has a lot of passion in there. You'll hear him kind of, like say, oh geez, if something happens, and it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to have that in the Ranger booth. I mean, not to say that Joe wasn't on the Rangers side. He was a Ranger color guy for such a long time, and JD before him. It's such an incredible legacy for any Ranger fan watching games. Like it's kind of like the goalie legacy. You've watched Hall of Fame guys broadcast your games for decades. It's an awesome thing, and Rupper can attest. All those guys are in the locker room every day, whether it's Joe or Dave, Sam. They're not just showing up for the broadcast. They want to know what's going on. They'll talk to guys, and I'm sure Boiler's the same way. But Dave to me is, he's an all-timer, and it's fun to see him get his due a little bit, get a little bit more airtime than he's gotten in years past, and I think he loves it. It's like Rupper said, he's a Ranger legend, and he knows this organization inside and out. So it's nice to have that someone who's got his heart on his sleeve as a Ranger a little bit in that booth. I think the fans appreciate that.
It's kind of this it's kind of what the business is turning into in the last number of years. So to what iteration or what level with the Rangers, we'll see. They've got, they'll make those decisions. But I like having different feels for different things. You
Yeah.
mentioned Dave.
Yeah.
There's this passion behind Dave. Like some of my favorite Dave moments are when he loses his mind. Like I love when he's like, he gets so pissed off at the referees or whatever. I love that stuff because that's the passion. That's the player. That's the captain of Dave Maloney coming out in this broadcast. And then Brian's is a little different. Brian's is a little more like a student of the game and explaining these things, which is fantastic. And I think it's good for broadcasts to have a little mix of all that stuff. And we're seeing it across the board. I mean, we've got rotations going on. It's kind of the new thing in some regards for a bunch of teams. So yeah, it's again, both guys are fantastic in their own right. But to answer, the question, yeah, I think it was kind of the plan here all along to have some sort of rotation.
Yeah, and again, like it's not 30 years, 40 years of the same two guys. Like it's going to take time to become accustomed to new voices, right? I think. I mean, Dave and Kenny have been doing it for 20 years too on radio.
Yeah.
But as far as the fans who are expecting to have the equivalent of a Sam and Joe right away, like it's going to take some time, even though these are very experienced broadcasters, like you've been listening to the same two voices for 3 decades. Like, it's going to feel a little different, but great show today, guys. I don't know if you have any final thoughts before we wrap it up and get to our sponsor, Novig. We will be recording again, like I mentioned before, Tuesday afternoon. So we'll recap a little Devils Canucks, the Islanders. I think the Islanders play Tuesday night. They play Tampa Saturday, but don't play till Tuesday, I believe, Arthur, if you want to correct me on that.
I think that's right.
Saturday's game. And then the Rangers have, Monday Anaheim, Saturday Canadiens. So we'll talk about that. But this show is presented by Novig, the future of sports betting. On Novig, you play against other real users, not the house, and it's the only commission-free exchange you keep. Every dollar you win, you'll get better odds than traditional sportsbooks, meaning you're 10 times more likely to win in the long run. So choose the best odds or offer your own. Trade Novig coins for fun or Novig cash to win real prizes. Sign up with our code Daily Faceoff in all caps to get $50 off in Novig coins, or $50 in Novig coins, when you spend $5 on your first purchase. Available in most states. You must be 21 or older to play. With no purchase necessary, we're going to take Quinn Hughes, anytime goal scorer against the Vancouver Canucks on Sunday, and Chris Kreider, anytime goal scorer against the New York Rangers on Monday. Hope you all have a great weekend, and we will talk to you on Tuesday afternoon. Hope you enjoyed that video, and if you want to see some more Tri-State hockey content, don't forget to leave a like and comment on the video below, and also subscribe to the Daily Faceoff YouTube channel.